Okay, so now I'm going to work this clay, taking it out of the bucket after being soaking, sort of mush it all up, make sure there's no sort of stones and twigs and stuff in. You might just find the odd one when you're working with it. Like there's a stone. Okay, now it's all pretty much, and then you're going to give it a wedge it up. And this is, I like to wedge my clay like this. Other people sort of like to do it other ways, but this is the way I like to do it. And also art. Okay, so this is my sculpture that I'm going to do. And this is sort of like the start, which is like the base. So I've been sort of pounding it like this, moving it around, and hopefully have got rid of all the air bubbles, because this sort of continuous slapping and thing, and then I'm going to sort of carve out this section and then slowly build it up from there. It's good to sort of have your sculpture as hollow as possible, because obviously then that sort of limits air bubbles trapped, because if air bubbles get trapped in, that section of whatever the work is will explode in the firing. And most of the times it doesn't necessarily explode in the bisque firing, but it can fire in the next firing. But because with these sculptures we're doing a pit firing, which is going to be a lot slower than doing a glaze firing in a kiln, it should be quite awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of plastic down. And then a piece of paper, and this on top of it. And I'll show you just now why. Okay, so homemade tool, well, not homemade, I mean bought, you've got them all over. It's like a spoon, which I use to kind of like take the clay out, to hollow this out. And the nice thing is that straight edge you can do down the sides. Okay, and then the other thing is to give it a good paddle. But you can't do it when it's too wet, because what happens is that the wooden spoon, you see, will stick to it. So you just wait for it to get a little bit more, what we call leather hard, slightly drier. And then nice thing about doing this is it smooths it, but also well, any air bubbles sort of that are floating around. And then the reason I put this on a piece of paper is because I can turn it on the plastic and work all four sides of this. So I'm going to just paddle this for a bit until I'm happy with it, and then I will do some joining. Yes, I'm going to join two pieces, but this is just for your sort of lesson. And I've got this sort of funny little brush thingy, or you can use a toothbrush as well. So I'm going to score, wet and score, because this is what you do when you join. So you basically scrape that side, scrape this side, and then you stick it, and then just work the clay up. And this, the trick to do, reason for doing this is also, well, obviously to get the two pieces to stick together, but this is also one of the times where you can also get air trapped in sort of between those two joins. So you just need to make sure that you join it properly. I mean, I've got a few of my favorite tools that I use. This is a sort of wooden that I've had for a long time. And then I just kind of, but this clay is very wet at the moment. So normally I'd sort of do this when it's a little bit more leather hard as such. Yeah, and this, yeah, so just work it up. Make sure it's joined nicely. And then I'll wait a while to use my wooden spoon to kind of like sort of give it a little bit of a paddle. Make sure, you know, it's all. So this is basically compressing it. Right, so next up is just taking sort of clumps and building up, but this is when the clay is like really nice and wet. So you know it's not going to, but the minute the clay starts getting a little bit harder, then you need to sort of use a toothbrush and some water and just moisten it up a bit. And I can literally just sort of take this and add it in. And the nice thing about this as well is you can actually feel if there's any funny stuff stuck in. And that's just to build it up. Kind of like always sort of just giving it a good tap and, you know, squeezing, and because that way you know that if there is any air, at least then you're compressing it. And these fingers, best tools ever. And then sort of if you've had enough and you want to go and eat or do whatever or close for the day, this is the reason for the plastic, because it will then keep your work moist. Until next time.